Sorry to cut your conversation short, guys, but we are here for the panel. We've got returning guests Josh King and David Harris back in the house. Let's start off with Mr. Pessy himself. Josh King, how you doing, my friend?
Good. Feeling Lionel Pessy at the moment. The greatest ever pessimistic fan.
Dave, Irish Hotspur, how you doing, brother?
Yeah, Doomsday Dave here again, my man. I'm keeping all right. Look, not great after the result at the weekend, but look, this is therapy, isn't it? That's what we're here for.
100%.
Josh has that post-pest glow about him.
Well, let's crack on. Let's get straight into it, and we're going to go to the first topic of the panel, and it's: are Spurs progressing under Ange Postecoglou? We'll start off with you, Josh. How much do you think we're progressing under? Because I think it's obvious that we are progressing. A few bad results doesn't change that, in my opinion. But how much do you think we're progressing under Ange so far? Or what does the progression look like so far?
Honestly, I think it's been massive. Like, I think it's completely night and day. You can see that we're trying to do the right things. If you step back and look at the big picture, it's just, this is the best that I've felt since probably halfway through second season Poch or something like that. I honestly think that he's been a game changer. I feel like these little bumps in the road were always going to come. The reason that I always get told off for being too pessimistic is because, like, when everyone else is so happy and thinking that we're going to go on these 10 game-winning runs, all the time, I want to be there to say that, like, look, these things are going to happen. Do you know what I mean? And I can take the rough with the smooth. I think that the football's been brilliant. He's improved players as well, like, Basuma, Porro. There's so many things that he's done right. And I'll leave it at that for now. It's been brilliant, basically. I think the progression is definitely there, and we're going in the right direction.
Yeah. Does the last few games change anything for you, Dave, or are we still going in the right direction? Is there progression under Ange Postecoglou?
No, it doesn't change anything for me whatsoever. I think the fan base need to find their cojones, to be honest, and stop throwing their toys out the pram after a defeat like that. Look, I get it. I'm hurting just like everyone else. It's an absolute blow to top four. But the reality is, if Liverpool sacked Jurgen Klopp when he went through turmoil, or the fans wanted him out, would they have went on to win everything in club football? No, they wouldn't have. If Man United sacked Alex Ferguson at the first time of trouble, would they have went on to dominate English football the way they did? No, they wouldn't. Same as if Man City pulled the trigger after Guardiola after the first season, would they have gone on to have the dominance they have? No. For me, I just think, there's too much overreaction to that defeat. Don't get me wrong, I'm not happy. But at the end of the day, Postecoglou has come in and done very well with this football club. Where he picked it up from its knees. The fans were walking away in their droves, couldn't watch it anymore. There was everything was wrong inside the club. And Postecoglou has very quickly come in, got the fans on side, got them excited. And completely changed the sort of aura around this football club. And I think credit to the guy. I just think Spurs fans are overreacting. Look, I get questioning certain elements of Ange Postecoglou, but question him entirely. Where did that leave when it started happening to Conte and Jose Mourinho? Eventually, it led to their sacking. Is putting pressure on another manager the right thing for Tottenham to progress? No. We've just got to stick through the adversity. What we're going through right now ain't Postecoglou's fault. Two players that he had to use that had a detrimental impact to the way somewhat to the way we played at the weekend. Emerson and Davies, are they his signings? No, they're not. So for me, I see similar patterns every single season, regardless of the manager in the dugout. That every single season, we started off well under Jose, top of the league. Started off well under Conte, top of the league. Started well off under Postecoglou, top of the league. But when it comes to relying on the squad players, when we carry injuries and stuff like that, we always fall off. And then when we get the big boys back later on in the season, where they've left it is in a title race, challenging on all competitions. When they come back, we're trying to scrape top four, and it completely kills momentum. The problem isn't Ange Postecoglou. The problem is building this squad out so it can compete on all four fronts. Because what happens is, when we lose a game, people go, why did he do that? Why did he do that? Well, what do you want him to do if they're the players at his disposal when they're the ones stepping in? So fans need to stop making Postecoglou the issue, show a bit of patience, and let's improve the squad and go into next season. Calm down a little bit.
Just to touch on the question though, are Spurs progressing? I guess there's two ways to look at it. Are we progressing from like last season under Conte? And I think obviously that's a massive yes, but I think we can all agree on that. But in terms of throughout the season, like there might is an argument to say there could be a different answer to that question, considering the first 10 games of the season, look how well we started. And then obviously, yes, we've had injuries, we've had all these problems throughout the season, and we've had to use a lot of the squad. But, have those excuses dried up a bit in the last few weeks? The Brentford game, Everton game, Brighton game, we haven't quite seen that still. I mean, we have been getting a few good results, obviously, and obviously the Wolves game we lost, but the level of performance still hasn't come back to what we saw earlier in the season. So what would you say in terms of the answer to that question when we just take it from this season? Are we progressing through the season? Like, can you say, I mean, I'm not saying I'm saying we're not progressing, but I guess I'll give it to Josh. What would you say to
Sim
people?
channeling his inner Pessi
I'm
here.
just saying, what would you say to people who say we haven't progressed from earlier in the season?
I just think it's just unrealistic demands from fans. Like, they see 10 games of us playing brilliantly with no European football, getting knocked out of the only cup we were in at that side of the season straight away. New manager with new ideas, having complete preparation on the training ground with a fully fit squad the whole time, basically. That's what you get. You get silky football and great results for 10 games. When you've got, I know that a lot of the players are back. I know that, we haven't got as many suspensions, but these players have all had injuries, so they're all recovering, or they've been halfway across the world trying to carry their countries on their backs when you're talking about Son and Sar. And it is unrealistic. And it was what I was saying, we have our group chat and all that, and people expecting us to just beat any team. After going through that, it's not going to click like that. I honestly do not expect us to have the same level of performance that we had at the start of the season until he's had another 4 or 5 weeks of a fully fit squad on the training ground. Do you know what I mean? Everything like that. Because all these players are still suffering with the reasons that they were out, whether that was long international breaks or injuries or anything. So I think, yeah, we are progressing. This is what he can do with this squad. I don't believe the blame lies with him. One negative, because I haven't even said anything negative yet, but the one negative I will say, is this is the first time I've really felt like he is really stubborn. There was like this Wolves game. I think there are a few things that he can do when he is missing certain players. And there's a few choices that he seems quite stubborn to stick to one way, but maybe in the long run, that's the best way to do it. Because maybe he wants to just stick to that. Let's get good at this. Whatever players are playing, we all have to be good at this. And then once we've mastered that, then he'll put some, little changes in it when needs be. But yeah, so I'd say yes, definitely. Even this season, we're progressing in the way that I would think we would, because I don't feel like everyone was factoring in all the outside circumstances still being a problem. Players don't come in after being out for months and just it clicks. It just doesn't happen. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah.
We also like Ben. Sorry, Dave, you go.
No, sorry, you got your show, my man.
I was just saying, like, in response to what Josh was saying, like, we all saw Bentancur come back for those first 20 minutes against Aston Villa, like performing the best he's ever played. And after that, we all expect like anyone to come back straight away. They're going to be unbelievable. And Bentancur has been a complete shadow of himself since he's been back. And Bissouma as well. Like, ever since Bissouma's got those red cards, he's been nowhere near what he's been in those first 10 games. And I think he's so pivotal to the way we play, Bissouma, in terms of those first 10 games. We're all saying he was going to be player of the season. He's so vital to the way that we want to do and how we want to do it. And I think that's as well been a massive key factor of why we've dropped off so much in terms of performance level.
Do you know what? Can I just jump in quickly and just say, the one thing I forgot to say was when was the silkiest football that we were playing? It was Son through the middle, both fullbacks fit, all our first choice midfield, all that sort of stuff. We still haven't seen that. Like we still haven't seen Son through the middle, and all our first team available. So there's that to factor in as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I don't think it's just down to Son through the middle why we haven't played our silky football. I think it's genuinely as well, a big part of it is Bissouma being the player that he was first 10 games of the season. He enabled us to do a lot of what we did in those first 10 games. And he just hasn't been anywhere close to those levels.
Go on, Dave.
I don't think he was that bad apart from the goal. That's my
Look, the last 2 games is when we realistically have had our full squad available to us. Everyone back from AFCON, everyone back from injuries. Like Josh alluded to, players, players take their time to get back up to full speed after an injury. Let's also question how fit was Bentancur coming back? Did we rush him back because the quality below him was so good? Was he anywhere near the level you'd like him to be returning to the team? So there's that factors as well. The drop off in the style of football came after that Chelsea game when we had to start implementing squad players that weren't good enough. That's where the football dropped off. That's where that intense pressing, which has not been the same ever since, completely fell off. And we're struggling to get it back. I think hopefully these 2 weeks break will do us the world of good. And when we come back off the 2 week breaks, the players hopefully have been back playing together. They can, find their little patterns and their rhythms again. And hopefully we'll see a much more improved Tottenham, going in towards the back end of the campaign, the business end of the season. We'll have to wait and see, I suppose, and get our answer on that. I do think the last 2 games with everyone, although everyone's being back, how fit have they actually been? Hopefully this 2 week break will get everyone back nice and fit and raring to go, almost like a mini preseason heading into the business end of the season. And let's judge the football then. But I would also say to people in terms of progression, what managers would come in here and deal with losing Harry Kane the way Postecoglou has, and in terms of the amount of goals he provides? But one thing everyone overlooked was the amount of assists, dropping deep, being able to play passes. As soon as he dropped deep, got on the ball, everyone made runs off him because they absolutely knew he was going to find them. Sonny, the link-up play he had with Sonny, now it's just Sonny on his own. He doesn't have that relationship with a Richarlison and stuff like that. So let's not forget, Postecoglou has had to deal with losing the best striker in the world, taking a lot of goals and assists and a link-up with your other star guy completely out of the team. Now we're coming to the point, he found a solution for that for a while. Now we're coming to the point where teams have found a way to sort of stifle us. Now it's just about tweaking certain things to get us purring again, get us kicking again. I don't think it's as major an issue as everyone's making it out to be. I think the tactical change he needs to make is very, very simple.
And also, Dave, when you look at it, when you talk about Pep Guardiola in his first 6 months, Klopp in his first 6 months, Arteta in his first 6 months, Ange got more points than all of them in arguably a stronger league right now. So I think you've got to give him a lot of credit for what he's done so far in a Spurs shirt, as well as having to factor in all the issues that he's had to deal with in that moment in time, And Pep Guardiola in his first 6 months, even if he didn't have the players to implement his style of play, he still played that style of play to drum it into them time and time again. And I think that's what Ange Postecoglou is trying to do here at Tottenham Hotspur.
Yeah, and what Pep did was by doing that, he took some beatings. I remember there was one game they lost like 4-0 at Goodison Park and everyone was calling him Fraudiola and there was all these problems. But the thing is, he realised, okay, Sagna is too old, he can't play my system. Clichy is too old, he can't play my system. And he spent big money on fullbacks to improve that. And all of a sudden they went on to be the Centurions the next year. So by going through those troughs and those difficult moments to figure out who can play the system or not, that's how you're going to figure out where you need to improve, what players are up to and what players are not, and that's how you can plan for the summer. If you go and just keep adjusting the way you're playing because you feel like the players can't play the system, but when the time the summer comes, you're not going to be any closer to working out who's really able to play your system and who's not, because you haven't given them, just played it week and week out to fully understand when you're playing consistently who can really play that system. So I think that's what Ange is still going through. I think people don't realize that there's still so many dynamics in the team of people who haven't played together, relationships they're still yet to build. Madison's played with Bentancur, like things like that we're still kind of adjusting. The only thing that really seems like the most settled part is when our back five is like playing together, because those guys have been fairly consistent. Obviously, we lost Romero and Van der Ven for a few months, but we know those five can do the system. But other than that, it's been a lot of chopping, a lot of changing, a lot of relationships that still need building. So for me, I know it's frustrating that we came flying out the blocks this season and we had an amazing start and we looked like we were going to be world beaters, and then kind of it went, and then it hasn't really obviously carried on that way. And that's obviously it's frustrating, and we all want Spurs to get back to that level we were in the first 10 games of the season. But football isn't as simple as that. You have teams like Brighton who have been together for 18 months, and De Zerbi has had a lot of time to play, to drum his way of playing into their team, and that's going to be difficult to play against. You've got teams like Wolves who are very, very effective counter-attacking team. They beat Man City earlier in the season with that counter-attacking style. That's how effective they can be. And if you can beat City, there's no reason why you can't come and execute that kind of plan away at Tottenham as well. And that's exactly what they did. They were absolutely fantastic. I think people underestimate the challenges Postecoglou has to go through in his first season, implementing a system and a new style of play. And the fact that we've accumulated the amount of points we have done is extremely impressive. And the only disappointment I would say is in the last few weeks, with everyone coming back, you would have hoped that the performance level would have maybe been better than it was before those players were out. And I don't feel like it has been, but it doesn't mean that we're not going to improve given more time, and that we're still going on the right track. I definitely believe that. But it is a bit of an elephant in the room that we haven't been playing like well consistently for a while now, and we need to kind of figure out why that is, how we can fix it. And it's not just as simple. Clearly, I think given the weekend, it's not just as simple as get these players back maybe and everything's going to be all right, because we've had better games with more injuries than we had on the weekend. We've had better performances than when we had injuries and we did on the weekend. So it's not purely a personnel problem. So we just got to figure out why there's a problem. But I still really believe in the project, and I definitely believe we're going in the right direction. And we are going to need a bit more patience, but there is problems that need sorting out, that's for sure.
But also, like, you need to remember what our expectations were going into this season. Like, people would have said, like, Europa League would have been a great season for us before the season even started, losing Harry Kane, all the issues going into it. And I think these first 10 games kind of lulled us into a full sense of security, where everyone thought Champions League was a given, we're going to be fighting for the title soon, all these kind of things. And people just need to probably have a dose of reality. And Ange Postecoglou has said throughout the whole season, even when we were in that good run, there's going to be bumps in the road. All the fans said when he was saying that, yeah, fine, we can accept there's going to be bumps in the road. New manager, new system, no Harry Kane. And when the bumps in the road come, everyone starts throwing their toys out of the pram. Ange out, this out. It's like, come on, guys. Just have a bit of patience, have a bit of respect for the man, and listen to what he's been saying all along, and realise where we were at the season, when the season started, and where we're at right now. And nobody thought we'd be challenging for top 4 at the start of the season. I mean, rival fans were saying Spurs were the second most betted on team to get relegated this season. How mad is that?
The problem we've got is when we hire any new manager, because Spurs fans are so starved of success, they automatically have to come in and do it straight away. Fans don't have time, for a project. It's almost like they're coming in and sort of taking the blame for all of the past failures of the club, which isn't good. At some point, we have to rest with, okay, we've been in that period, it hasn't been good enough. But how do we build? How do we get to being there again? And sometimes knee-jerk reactions, we fell off again, sack them, get the next guy in. That's part of the problem why we've been here the last 4 or 5 years. Every manager is working with a squad that resembles all the previous regimes. Until we show a bit of patience behind the right guy and let him build his squad, then you can aim everything else at him that you want. Okay, well, you took him out, you put him in. He's your player. Why didn't it work out? Then you can ask. But I ain't going to sit here and ask questions off Postecoglou on Ben Davies or other players like that. I've been here for so long that I've failed every other manager, and we see similar patterns under every other manager. I ain't going to put that on him. And I'm at the point now, until the squad is majority his, I'm not going to judge him on a lot of that, to be honest with you. I'm willing to be patient. I'm willing to get him to go into next season. Hopefully, he's figured out, like Sim was alluding to, who's going to be good for him next season in terms of squad rotation, who isn't, and then let's see what happens there. But putting pressure on a manager right now towards the business end of the season, not the right thing for me. Now is the time to strap in, double down, sing loud and proud, and try and push these boys over the line.
Absolutely.
I do
spot
feel
on.
like I was just going to say, I do feel like we've put the pressure on ourselves, though, because again, with my pesky self, like everyone, it felt like everyone in the fan base was saying we're shoo-ins for top four. You know, we're definitely going to finish above Villa, Sim. We're definitely. So
I think we will.
So I feel like, you know, we're the ones putting the pressure on when I've remained kind of the same as I felt at the start of the season. And like, I still think that there are some. Well, the main thing I wanted to say was Postecoglou is going to be a great manager for us, and he is going to do well for us as long as the recruitment team understands that he has to have very specific players, because he has no adaptability. It looks like he just wants to do it one way, and like if we don't get those wingers in, we don't get fullback backups to Porro and Udogie and stuff like that, then it will fall apart. So I think it's just all on the club. There should be no pressure on Ange.
Can I ask a question? When everyone talks about this adaptability, what are they looking for? Are they looking for a manager that's going to set up and play one attacking football one week and sit back and do, defensive the next week, depending on the opposition? What are people looking for when they're asking for the adaptability? Because if that's it, that's never going to happen. Most modern managers now will go in, implement their style because they live and die by results. It's that simple. So they're not going to keep chopping and changing. I'm okay for tweaks within the way we're playing right now. But if people are asking for them to adapt according to the opposition, that's what they didn't want last season underneath someone like Antonio Conte. So, I feel like if you're going to change your expectations on that regard, that's why you're unhappy with Ange Postecoglou then.
King Hoddle in the chat says in-game adaptability, being able to realize things that are happening during the game and being able to tweak a few things when you see things aren't going right.
Okay, I can understand. Yeah, go on, Josh.
I was just going to say, even Pep, who's completely known for being such a stubborn his way, that's the only way he plays. You saw him come up against Arsenal last season and start pinging it long for Haaland. So we can't say that these great attacking managers don't make changes. They do. Whereas Ange, and I'm not criticizing him here, I want him, I've got no problem with Ange at all, but like he was still trying to make Emerson and Davis invert on Saturday. And that post that was put in the chat was from I think it's Lily White Lab. They had a brilliant post on it, and there needs to be some level of adaptability. But I'm hoping,
is this not the problem though, Josh, that we're adapting to players that we know can't do the job?
Exactly.
Why would you adapt to them? Like Sim alluded to earlier on, it's his first season. He has to push through, continue to get them to play the same way. So the guys that will be here next season, they're the guys that everyone else that comes in around that are going to be the bedrock to implement your philosophy right throughout everything else. So he has to stick with it.